Hello, I'm Master Blue from Taekwondo Culture Network. In this video, let me explain the modern history of Taekkyon, the real history. I will explain it along the timeline. First of all, let me suppose time flows from the left to the right side. Then, Taekkyon of late Joseon period is here in the left part. We still have some clear records and materials about Taekkyon of this time. I introduced them in this video about Taekkyon and Taekwondo. According to those records, Taekkyon was a folk martial art, as everyone knows, and people played it a little differently all over the country. And it is certain that Taekkyon was a kick-focused martial art. Every record describes kicks mainly, and bigaksul means it. Some people has this position to defend their own modified Taekkyon of modern time, but every material that we can find tells us Taekkyon was kick-focused martial art. In another word, if Taekkyon was throwing focused, it couldn't be something else than Korean serum. No one would have recorded Taekkyon as different martial art. They had no reason to believe something was Taekkyon at that time. They recorded Taekkyon just because they could see something unique. Then, this Taekkyon is transmitted to period of Japanese occupation and then to 1950s. A representative example is Song Deok-gi. He said he learned Taekkyon from Imho. By the way, think of this. From whom did Imho learn Taekkyon? No one cares it. Why? Taekkyon is a folk martial art. So it has been transmitted from elder people to youngers in the town unconsciously. Otherwise, the history of Song's Taekkyon cannot have been longer than Imho's life. It cannot have historical connection to the Taekkyon before him. It is very absurd. Therefore, it is normal and natural that Taekkyon, which is a folk martial art, has been transmitted in various ways with several names all over Korea. When I discuss history of Taekkyon and Taekwondo, I feel that many people cannot accept this fact. As I stressed in my book about Taekwondo history, almost everyone has a very strong prejudice from martial art fantasy when they see Taekwondo and Taekkyon. It is that a martial art is transmitted from a master to his student along their genealogy. This prejudice is definitely wrong about a folk martial art especially. If you accept this prejudice of martial art fantasy, you cannot but conclude that the authorized Taekkyon of Song is a martial art made by Imho. Therefore, you are supposed to abandon the prejudice of martial art fantasy and watch the facts more carefully. The fact that Taekkyon is a folk martial art, which is what we have been seeing and hearing so far. Firstly, Taekkyon was transmitted various ways all over Korea. Take a look at the following.
안양수 만났을 때 그 얘기 잠깐 했죠. 내가 68년생인데 이런 분들이 보기에 내가 겪은 태권에 대한 경험이라는 건 거의 뭐 흔적 중에도 흔적이 불가하겠죠. 그런데 나 같은 사람도 겪었거든요. 태권에 대한 경험을. 하여튼 어머니 쪽 남동생분이 늑막염에 걸려서 죽을 뻔했어요. 늑막염을 내가 왜 걸렸냐 어릴 때 그랬더니 택갱이를 하다가 택갱이를 친구들하고 하고 놀다가 발로 옆구리를 채워가지고 늑막염으로 죽을 뻔했다는 거예요. 그래서 뭐 그때 이제 근데 택갱이 그래요? 택갱이가 뭐예요? 일단 이게 이제 게임이래요. 게임 발로 차가지고 뭐 잡아뜨리기도 하고 발로 차서 뭐 점수도 따고 그런 데서 더 무서운 거 뭐냐면 내가 서울 구로동에 영서중학교를 다녔고 영서중학교 거기 영서중학교 그 1학년, 2학년 때 거기서 유행하던 그 놀이가 깽깽이야, 깽깽이.
그래 오징어 게임.
아니,
그래, 오징어.
그 깽깽이를 어떻게 하는 거냐면 한쪽 다리를 들고 이렇게 깽깽깽 하면서 넘어뜨리기도 하고 발로 차서 밀어뜨리기도 하고 이런 거거든요.
맞아요.
근데 잘하는 새끼들은 기술이 장난 아니에요.
장난 아니에요.
그 장난 아니에요.
안
그거.
넘어가.
안 넘어가고 막 어깨까지 밟고 넘어가고 막 이제 막 뭐 짜장면 내기하고 막 이러니까. 그래서 내가 이제 물어봤지. 나도 이제 선배들한테도 물어보고 형 뭐 깽깽이라고 하고 다 알더라고. 깽깽이.
알아.
그러니까 형 언제 했어?
About this testimony, somebody may say it is only a single testimony. We cannot generalize it. But it is not important that it is one testimony, but that it can be checked everywhere in Korea. Now you have Taekkyon of Nazu area and 깽깽이 game of Seoul Youngso Middle School, and I can add my experience more. We had 오징어 game in Jinhae, Gyeongsangnam-do area in 1970s. I was preliminary school student at that time, and now the area belongs to Changwon. The game and technique is same as 깽깽이 game of Seoul Youngso Middle School. Lee Yong-bok, who was the president of the Korea Taekkyon Association, said similar game was called 깔래기 in Busan area. And one more. When I visited to learn Taekkyon dojang, I saw their technique and felt, yes, it is true that this is Korean folk martial art. 4. It is the same as what we played in my youth. After all, key is the matter of fact. Everyone can confirm that Taekkyon was all of Korea, transmitted various ways, and it was a kick focused in its specific technique if they try to check it. In this step, some of you may protest that Taekkyon, 오징어 game and so on are not Taekkyon. Then you are thinking of Taekkyon as a systematic martial art. But a folk martial art develops here and there without systematic form, slightly different ways. So it is also well known that Taekkyon had many names. They were Taekkyon, 날파름, 날파람, 까기, 채기, 난다리, 칠레기, and so on. And Taekkyon was also one of them. Only afterwards we can collect and systemize them and define it as Taekkyon, saying Taekkyon is from this to that. I believe a way of systemization was transforming it to Taekwondo. As you know, the name of Taekwondo was a combination of Taekwon, which was written of Taekkyon in Asian letters, and addition of Do.
경기 룰 때문에 없던 기술이 만들어졌다는 건 이제 말이 안 되는 거고, 그 전에 누군가가 이미 도장에서 하던 거, 예를 들어 한재구 선수가 했던 그 따블, 나래차기 이런 것도 내가 이제 홍보 담당일 때 물어봤어요. 그때 뭐 우리 그 전에도 했대요, 선배들이. 했는데 자기가 그거로 재미를 보니까, 자기가 점수를 따니까,
많은 사람들이 이제
따라 한 거니까 이제 그때 마치 이제 생겨난 것처럼 보였다는 거지.
And it is certain that Taekwondo people tried to transmit Taekkyon to Taekwondo in their intention. For example, in my graduate days, 80s and 90s, students of Taekwondo Club of Seoul National University made a magazine titled 날파람, another name of Taekkyon. Now let me talk more in detail and discuss Taekkyon in 1980s. At that time, many people, including me, were searching for Taekkyon like martial art fantasy, in spite of record that Taekkyon is a folk martial art. Song's Taekkyon was organized in Chungju, but it was not well known. I saw it in 1989 for the first time when University Taekwondo Clubs Association Cup competition was held in Seoul National University. One of the demonstrations was Taekkyon, and at least several hundred people watched it. By the way, its kyorugi was the same as Taekwondo. In its demonstration, they showed 품밟기, but in actual competition, we could see nothing like that. Their footwork was Taekwondo, and only different in their grabbing each other and wrestling. So I saw many people were disappointed by it. And then you can see many changes in techniques between Taekkyon of 1980s and later. Let me take a look at them. When people change and mix techniques in Taekkyon, they cannot remember what they did. So let me check it according to Taekkyon textbooks. Let me see the elements of Taekkyon written by Jung Kyung-hwa. The author is authorized human cultural asset of Korea, so we can assume that Song's Taekkyon is well preserved in its description. By the way, you cannot see so many kicks as you may expect in this book. From page 189, it begins explanation about kicks with the title 발질 및 손질, and its list is like this. 걷어차기, 째차기, 후려차기, 고던발질, 내차기, 능질러차기, and then no more. Of course, they say about 발질 like 속구치기, 돌개질, and so on from page 193. But they are not kicks. They are jumping motions. 가끔거리 in page 195 and 낚시거리 and 안짱거리 in page 196 cannot be called as kicks. This point is the same in the book Taekkyon written by Lee Yong-bok in 1990. You can see 걷어차기, 째차기, 후려차기, 고든발질, 내차기, 발따귀, 능질러차기, 옆발질. In from page 152 to page 162. Exactly like the foregoing book, it has 속구치기, 돌개질, and so on, but they cannot be called as kicks. Let me notice that Elements of Taekkyon by Jung Kyung-hwa was published in 2002, and Taekkyon by Lee Yong-bok was published in 1990 at first. Summing up, Song's Taekkyon had only 6 kicks, and the kicks they show in demonstration video are not parts of them. Song's Taekkyon had these kicks, but about these kicks? Some Taekkyon practitioners watched another videos of this channel and said 돌개차기 of Taekkyon is different from that of Taekwondo, but only Taekwondo had 돌개차기 originally. My point is that you are not supposed to argue about Taekkyon history with your knowledge from current Taekkyon that you know. Where do you think this 돌개차기 here is from? It is from 돌개차기 of Taekwondo. You can see it is true that Taekwondo kicks are imported in Taekkyon more and more if you read Taekkyon textbooks. Take Collection of Taekkyon Gyorugi published in 2010. You can see kicking techniques since page 124. The list of kicks is this. They changed each names. I wrote original names of Taekwondo or Taekkyon in this list. You can see they added 뒤차기 and 뒤후리기, I mean tornado kick, from Taekwondo. They both were unique kicks of Taekwondo. They renamed every kick, but you can see they are exactly same kicks as Taekwondo technically. This shows the modern Taekkyon, which is not the original Taekkyon, is developed with the addition of Taekwondo kicks. What if you delete these kicks, which are from Taekwondo? The most serious problem is that songs taken with only 6 or 8 kicks must not be the entirety of past Taekkyon in Joseon period. According to records, Taekkyon in the past was so good at its kicks that it was called as bigaksul, which means the flying kicks. Which do you think is more worse being called flying kicks between them? It was more stunning to see the new kinds of Taekkyons in 90s and 2000s, which popped abruptly. They were neither Taekwondo nor Songs Taekkyon. Let me call them New Made Taekkyon. Let me inform you that Busan was written here at first in this drawing, but I moved its location to here as it has nothing to do with the New Made Taekkyon. Anyway, there were several new made Taekkyons and they popped abruptly with none of historical records. When I finished military service and got back to my master course in the university in 1996, I met a professor who was charged in Taekkyon Club of Seoul National University at that time. She told me Seoul National University Taekkyon Club abandoned Jeongkyunghwa's Taekkyon and began learning blah blah Taekkyon, a kind of new made Taekkyon. Her students of Taekkyon Club told her what they wanted. Techniques of blah blah Taekkyon are more beautiful and interesting. So I researched about the blah blah Taekkyon and it had all Taekwondo kicks, 돌개차기, 뒤우리기, 나래차기, and so on. And now, this kind of new made Taekkyons are shown often on TV and YouTube today, and then they become main part of Taekkyon. As a matter of fact, they are modifications of Taekwondo, not Songs Taekkyon. And most of those who criticize and degrade Taekwondo history are people who learn these new made Taekkyons. By the way, they are merely modifications of Taekwondo. Let me sum up now. Taekkyon, Korean folk martial art, couldn't help being modified and developed into Taekwondo. Why? Everybody in Korea practiced Taekwondo since 1950s till now. It is unavoidable that motions and techniques of folk culture are imported in it. Changes of modern Taekkyon also shows they took many kicks of Taekwondo. I hope this analysis and explanation can help you to understand the modern history of Taekkyon in real. I haven't discussed the modern history of Taekkyon in detail. Subscribe us and hit like please if you believe this video was helpful. Thanks.